Welcome back. A few minutes before the top of the hour, Republicans have not lost a U.S. Senate race in Kansas since 1932. But the pastor of the nation's largest United Methodist Church is looking to change that after announcing that he's entering the 2026 race as a Democrat. Take a look at Reverend Adam Hamilton's opening message.
Hi, I'm Adam Hamilton, and today I'm announcing I'm running as a Democrat for the United States Senate. Before I tell you why I've made this decision, I want to share with you a bit about who I am. I'm a husband married to my high school sweetheart, LaVon. I'm a father of 2 remarkable daughters, and I'm a grandfather to an amazing 12-year-old granddaughter. I'm the pastor of the largest United Methodist Church in the United States, which LaVon and I started 36 years ago. And I'm a proud 5th-generation Kansan. My great-great-grandparents moved to Dickinson County, Kansas 147 years ago. I love our state, and I love our people. And that's why I can't sit still and watch what's happening to Kansas and our country. Instead of fixing things, we have a government in Washington that's making life harder for Kansans. Many people can't afford the basics: gasoline, food, medicine, a place to live, while our president spends billions on foreign wars with no end in sight. And Roger Marshall, he helps him do it. I believe we can and must do better. So why me? Well, let me share this. In a world that feels more and more divided, our congregation has managed to bring all sorts of people together. We're roughly equal parts Republican, Democrat, and Independent. And we've learned to love and appreciate each other precisely because of our differences. We are passionate about serving people outside the walls of our church, particularly people and communities that are struggling or vulnerable. In the last 36 years, we've devoted hundreds of thousands of volunteer hours serving people. We're constantly asking how we can close the gap between the world as it is and the world as it should be. I'm not naive. Kindness and compassion alone will not turn around what ails us. We must have the courage to stand up and right wrongs, fight for freedoms, and restore a functional government to this American experiment. We feel moved to bring a meal to a neighbor. Shouldn't we also fight against cuts to food for hungry children in our communities? If we can drive a friend to the doctor's appointment, can't we also fight to protect people across Kansas from cuts to health care access or seeing our rural hospitals closed? Now here's the challenge. We must be able to imagine a future where Republicans, Democrats, and Independents work together to actually solve problems, where our mutual respect is our common language and hope is our shared anthem. Is it easy? No. But I'm a man of faith, and sometimes that means believing in something others find unbelievable, inspiring other people to do the same. If you agree that what's going on today is unacceptable, that it doesn't have to be this way, please consider joining our campaign. I hope to see you down the road. Oh, and one more thing. We're in it to win it.
That is Pastor Hamilton, and he joins us right now. Pastor, a very, very inspiring welcome to the campaign there. I must say, if you look at the electoral history of Kansas, it may be as likely for you to march around the walls of Jericho for 7 days and hear the trumpets blast and have it fall. This is a long shot, but you're in it to win it. And tell us why you think this year will be different than any other year since 1932 in Kansas.
Okay, well, let me just say this, too. I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. We went 50 years without a Super Bowl, and I was so excited when we won. And I'm thinking, okay, we're 92 years. There's a long drought. It's time. But in addition to just hope, we're living at a time. First of all, I want to say, hey, thank you for having me on this morning. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing my... So I think this is a year where there's a lot of frustration across the country, but certainly in Kansas. There are people who voted for Roger Marshall who have said, I voted for him. I thought he was a moderate, but that's not where he ended up. And disappointed because it doesn't feel like he's listening to Kansans. And so we see so many of the policies that are coming out of Washington, D.C. are harming ordinary Kansas people. And I think people recognize that. There are Republicans who are saying, look, this is not okay. Farmers who are struggling, the cost of inputs, the loss of markets, cattle ranchers. I went to 18 towns across Kansas, just asking all the way out to western Kansas, tell me what you're feeling, what's going on, before I ever decided to run. And what I was hearing was we're frustrated by the fact that we felt like what was going to happen in Washington has been just the opposite. It's actually, we're worse off today than we were before. A lot of people are asking questions about health care. It's like, I met a woman in Kansas, out central western Kansas, and she said, we make $80,000 a year and we're paying over $2,000 a month for health insurance. Like, I can't afford that. How can we afford that? And I'm thinking we can send astronauts to the dark side of the moon, which I think is awesome, really cool. But we can't figure out how to solve for healthcare. But the problem is, of course, we have Republicans and Democrats on each side, and they're going into their corners and, looking for political wins as opposed to saying, wait, this is about winning for the American people. We have to come together and work on this. And so those are some of the things that I think lead to a chance this time around. I think people are frustrated. I think I'm a different kind of candidate than maybe they've seen before, and I'm hoping to build bridges and bring people together. I thought about running as an independent because I thought, what's the best way to bring people together? But I really think you have to be in a party, and I'm proud to be in the Democratic Party. But I'm an independent-leaning Democrat who's committed to working across the line and bringing Republicans and Democrats together to solve problems.
So, Pastor, what's so fascinating is there obviously has been a break toward the Republican Party in rural America for 10, 15, 20 years now. But you look at what's happened, especially over the past year and a half. You can look at how tariffs have just crushed farmers. You can look at how the Farm Bill has crushed farmers. You can look at rural health care now. Even before Donald Trump became president, there was a growing crisis in rural health care. It was terrible. Hospitals were shutting down. Urgent care centers were shutting down. You look at Medicaid cuts, and there's this idea from the 1990s that most people on Medicaid are in inner cities across America. That's just a lie. Disproportionately, rural health care is impacted more by Medicaid cuts. Something like 40% of all children get their pediatric care from Medicaid. Same thing with retirement home, assisted facility. Talk about, not in a political way. I mean, we don't have to talk in a political way. Just talk the facts of how brutal the past year and a half has been, and all of the cuts by the richest man in the world, all of the cuts by these billionaires, all of the things that the billionaire commerce secretary has done, all of the things. Talk about how these billionaire cuts have really hurt people that live in rural America.
Well, that's exactly right. Rural America, urban, suburban America, across the board, people who are the lower income levels are struggling. And they're struggling. I think about this. So my family, when I was in high school for 2 years, lived below the poverty level. And I think and my wife and I did the first year we got married. I think about just gasoline prices alone. So all of those things you named are exactly right. But I think about just common things like gas prices up 35 to 40% in the last year, actually the last few months. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, which is where many Americans are living, and all of a sudden your gas prices are up 35, 40% for a war you're not really sure why it's being fought, you got to ask, I'm having to decide if I'm living there, how do I pay the bills? What am I going to pay this month? What am I not going to pay this month? Then when you start having medical crises that come into your family and you're having to opt out of health insurance, I mean, across the board, what I think people thought they were voting for that was going to help them has actually hurt them. And in the scriptures, there's several passages that guide me. One is in, hundreds, thousands, but the book of Proverbs says, speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves. And this last year, I've been thinking about that a lot. I've been thinking about Jesus saying, I'm concerned for in as much as you've cared for the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the people in hospital or the people who are sick, the in prison, the stranger, you've done it for me. And yet, we're finding out of Washington, we sort of forgot those values. And those are Kansas values. Those are things Kansans believe in. Doing unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Caring for our neighbor. But government plays a role in that, and it's dropping the ball right now.
Reverend, good morning. You're picking up steam in an election when you're being attacked from both sides of the aisle. Republicans calling you a liberal, Democrats who are running against you in the primary saying, well, he used to be a registered Republican. He's not one of us. You are drawing comparisons to James Tallarico, who's doing very well in that Senate race. So he's a Presbyterian minister in Texas. So how would you describe for the voters of Kansas your personal ideology? How do you see the world?
First of all, I want to say I have your dad's book on my table, my coffee table at the Lake of the Ozarks. We have a place
wow.
And I've enjoyed reading it. So anyway, great to see you today.
Oh, thanks. You too.
So here's what I'd say. First of all, United Methodists and Methodists as a whole have been known as people of the via media, the middle way. And when you're in the middle way, you stand there and people ask me, I can't figure you out. Are you liberal or conservative? And I'm like, yes, of course. And they're like, no, wait, which are you? And I'm like, well, those are both good ideas. To be liberal means to be generous of spirit. It means to be open to reform and seeing new ideas. And to be conservative means you're holding on to values from the past. And I think we have to be both of those things. And so when you're standing in that place, not in a mushy middle or a milk toasty middle, but firmly saying, look, there's truth on both of these sides. We've got to work together. And when you do that, you're going to be attacked by both sides. But that's been true for 36 years of my ministry, 38 years of ministry. And I'm like, you enter this race and there's going to be people who are going to be attacking, and I'm okay with that. That's all right. I believe most of us, and I think all of us on this program, would be able to say, look, I'm conservative compared to some people, and I'm liberal compared to other people. And I believe somehow if we can listen, we can find, we can bring people together and we can work for solutions. What's happening now is we are not working for solutions, because instead we point fingers at people and we call them names as opposed to working to bring people together.
Yeah. Reverend Hamilton, what are you hearing about women in Kansas and their access to OBGYN care, life-saving procedures connected to that, difficulty getting prenatal care or even finding a place to have a baby? Is that an issue you're hearing about from women in your state? And how does it connect to your campaign message, which is based a lot on Scripture?
Yeah. So first of all, yes, everywhere I went. So in these 18 towns, rural, central, southern, western Kansas, one of the first questions people raised was about access to health care for women. And of course, in Kansas several years ago, 2022, there was an amendment that was proposed for the Constitution that was aimed at giving the state legislature control over, at least the ability to speak over the courts on this. And Kansas rejected that, 60-40. And a large number of women, more 80% of women, I think, in Kansas said that's not who we are. And I've assured people I voted against that amendment myself. And I'm hearing people say, and I think again, when it comes to abortion, this is an issue that people are deeply divided on. And yet we find in Kansas, people are saying, look, we need to make sure that women are safe. We need to make sure that women are cared for. And I think that's very important.
Yeah. Democratic U.S. Senate candidate from Kansas, Reverend Adam Hamilton. Thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. We really appreciate it.
I'm going to say, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. You talk to me.
We appreciate having you on.
Well, I appreciate having you all on. Thank you, you having me on. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this campaign, and we are in it to win it. And I believe we're going to have a huge impact for people in the state of Kansas. I want to be their champion, and I'm excited about having a chance to run for the United States Senate.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you
so much. Let's bring